I will call the September 10th meeting of the Monona Plan Commission to order. We'll have roll call. We want to
Alder Spade,
hear?
Mr. Dorschel, Ms. Fox, Mr. Humberg, Mr. Holmquist.
Here.
Excused is Alder Moore and Thomas and Stein.
All right, is there a motion for approval of the minutes from our August 13th meeting?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments? Ryan?
Yeah, on page 3 at the top, the sentence that says there was agreement among the commission that at a minimum landscaping should be used to shield on the north side. I think that's true. The way this could get, way someone could interpret this in the future could be minimum landscaping rather than at a minimum. Yeah. Either to add the comma or get rid of the word minimum.
Noted.
All right. Any other comments? Mr. Homburg?
One change, 2 pages. Page 1, last paragraph about in the middle, you would also like to see a small dormer. It's actually a circle head window on the canopy to add that element. And then if you go over to page 2, condition 4, a circle head window constructed on the canopy in a similar fashion to the ones on the existing building. The ones on the building were in a dormer, but there's not a dormer. It's on a gable end on the canopy, so that's the difference. But it's a circle head window, similar to the other ones.
All right. Anything else? All in favor of the amended minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The minutes are approved. Are there any appearances tonight that are not related to any of the items on our agenda? All right, seeing none, we will move on to unfinished business, and there is none, so we'll move on to item 6, new business. 6A, consideration of action on request for approval of a landscape ground sign permit for Monona Lutheran Church at 4411 Monona Drive. All right. If you'd like to come up to the podium and make any comments? And please start by stating your name and address.
My name's Mike Stanichka, and I'm with Wisconsin Sign and Graphics. I'm commissioned to fabricate and install the sign.
Okay.
This is Wayne.
Wayne Cosmo, and I'm a long-time member of Monona Lutheran, and I'm the chair of the sign committee.
Excellent. Thank you.
We're just applying for basically a standard sign permit for a monument sign to replace the existing sign in their parking area out front of their church. Basic aluminum construction, stone base, internal illuminated with LED. Any other questions you have on that?
We shall see. Mr. Homburg, would you like to start us out?
Sure. This isn't a public hearing, correct? Okay. Yes, number one, I think it's a good-looking sign.
Thank you.
Did a nice job with it. Is that existing landscape stone base, that block base, is that stained or is that out of there?
That'd be removed.
Okay, good. And my other question was the illumination, which you are not, or you are illuminating, it's internally
It's
illuminated.
internal LED illumination.
Beautiful. The one condition we will add and might have, could we have the overhead on, please? The overhead projector, or what do we call it?
Document camera.
The document camera, please. I always get that wrong, I'm old. Okay, which we always put a condition on signs, we get them like this, is with this white, we sometimes had problems with the glare. It gets really bright for the traffic, and that'll be right by the traffic coming by on Monona Drive. So we've always had a condition that if it's a problem, you have to put something on it to just tone it down. You can apply something to it.
That is actually aluminum.
So it won't, it's not opaque.
It's
Right,
not,
so
it is
It's
opaque.
Okay,
The
beautiful.
cross itself is pushed through acrylic with vinyl on the front.
Perfect, Perfect.
The letters, the Monona Lutheran letters are 3/4 inch acrylic. They're also pushed through,
Beautiful.
and the hours is a back,
Okay.
opaque back.
That's great. It's just, all goes back to when Midwest Bank was up on Monona Drive and they had a all-white background. It was just
Yes.
glaring. I don't know
Yeah.
if you recall it.
Yep.
And then my last comment, again, it's a really good-looking sign. I know a lot of times we ask for a landscape plan with perennials and things that are there full-time. I like the fact that you're going to plant annuals there every year. I think that can be a really, really attractive sign base. And I see the conditions worded that if that landscaping is approved, it just has to be done every year. And I think flowers around the base, it's beautiful, beautiful as long as they're maintained.
It matches the same thing in the front entrance of our
Yes.
church, too.
Yeah, it's a really nice look.
Thank you.
Makes the sign a little more festive, too. That's it for me, thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Holmquist, any comments?
I have no concerns.
Okay,
Nor do I. I think it looks good.
all right,
No concerns.
all right. Thank you
Thank you.
very much.
We need a motion?
Do we have a motion for,
I move approval subject to the conditions as recommended by staff.
is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay.
Thank you.
Good.
And then there's a fee that we need to pay.
Yes, you'd see. Cory?
Yes, that can be
Cory?
sent to City Hall.
Pardon?
That will be paid to City Hall.
I can pay it now if you'd like.
I can't process your
Oh,
checks.
okay. Corey, you're sitting
Wednesday
in
morning.
for
Can you-
Sonia?
Yeah, can you stop in Wednesday morning?
I'm not gonna be here because I'm going out of town tomorrow. That's why I was trying to take care of it if I can.
Yeah, we're not really set up to do that at the meeting, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It can be paid anytime though, right, as far as a day or two later.
When do you plan on installing it?
We've got a few weeks before we actually dig the base out, so there's plenty of days here, someone can get a permit over there.
Yeah, just stop in Monday or Wednesday over the next couple of weeks.
Okay, I'll do that because I'm coming back Friday. We're just going on mini vacations. Stop over and see you then, Corey?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item B, public hearing on request by Farrell Equipment and Supply for approval of a zoning permit, CSM, site plans, landscape plans, and structural elevations for a new outdoor storage and staging area at 6809 Mangrove Lane. Case number 2/15/2018. And this was tabled at our last meeting.
Move we take it up from the table. Move it or what we're supposed to do.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right. Thank you. Yes. So would the applicant please come to the lectern?
Eric Rybel, Farrell Equipment, 6809 Mangrove Lane.
Will Kotler, D'Onofrio Kotke, 7530 Westward Way.
So we are back this month to discuss some of the topics that we had talked about last time with adjusting some of the maintenance agreements with the neighbors and some fencing and sanitary sewer easement that's on the north property. So with all of the maintenance agreements, we had met with all the neighbors, had signed agreements with all three of them on an agreement pretty much saying that if we were to ever come across and have to do any type of repairs, that they agree that they would allow us to come over. Anything that we would do onto the property would be replaced by Farrell Equipment and repaired, and they would not have to worry any concerns on that end. And all three of them I met with, and all three agreed. Not a problem at all with that. One that we had on the north side, the Royal Ave building, which would be directly north of the proposed property. what we looked at was possibly doing a small retaining wall on the north side of the bio bed to help hold back. Well, we decided to actually remove that wall completely so we don't have to have those blocks here or any type of landscaping. What we're gonna do is actually berm up on the north property. We talked to Robert, who was the owner of the Royal Ave property, and discussed about doing a landscaping plan along his whole property. So we would build up theirs, and they have some older pine trees that they actually wanted removed anyways. So a lot of the lower half of it's starting to die off and kind of look old for them. So we would remove all of that and replant new landscaping. All new green evergreens is what he preferred to have along that whole north property. So we discussed with him if pretty much whatever landscaping he felt he wanted, we could work with, and we could make sure that it was pleasing to him for his view. And with the fencing, one of the topics we talked about was, Mr. Homburg, I think you said with the slots in it, with the wind holding back, we discussed about doing a heavier gauge pipe in it and probably decreasing the spacing on the fence post to help strengthen that fence, so just in case there was a higher wind strength, that we would be able to have full slats through the entire wall, given the privacy. And yeah, so that would be all using the same fencing that we have existing on our property right now, which is, I believe, from this Privacy Link company, was the same slatting that we had used on the same colored green. And then we also discussed the sanitary sewer easement that was on the north side of the property. One of the concerns was if it was actually in use or if it was just an easement that was put in. And I know Will had looked into that and was able to find out that it was an easement that was put there by the city years ago in plans that if there were a need for an easement on that property that they could have them. There wasn't any privacy sewer system that was with the Wyden building to the south that we had from their plans. So it looks like there's nothing for easement that was running through there. We did submit a easement removal to the city to have that north part removed, and they said that shouldn't be a problem at all.
All right. Mr.
We're in
Homburg?
public hearing still?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
So are there any questions of the applicant?
You want to just close the public hearing?
All right. Oh, yes, of course. This is obviously the first time I've chaired this commission, so please bear with me tonight.
You said before any appearances that are on the agenda, I'm here for an appearance, but about something on the agenda.
Yes, and so you will have an opportunity, and so now if you would like to speak about this particular item, then if there's anyone here that would like to come up and make a comment to the commission regarding this proposed development, then please come up and tell us your name. I don't see anyone making their way up there, so we will close the public hearing portion of the meeting, and we will move on to consideration of the action on request by Feral Equipment. Is there a motion?
We usually discuss it first.
All
so
right,
we know
very
we
well,
want to put in
sir.
a motion.
All
That's
right, okay.
Sometimes there's some things that get flushed out during the discussion.
Yes,
Okay, great.
please.
Great. I love your solution on the north property line. Great solution. North retaining wall, the landscape is beautiful. What do we call that thing, the document?
Doc Cam.
It's an overhead. Can we have the overhead again, please? Can we have the document reader, scanner?
Camera.
Camera, document camera. You know, I'll never remember that. Okay.
There we go.
We talked about the neighbors who did a great job. Don't get mad at me. We talked about the neighbors who did a great job screening to the north, but you kind of forgot this. And this is where that $3.5 million project is getting built right now. So what we talked about was probably crafting an area like that and doing the same thing right there.
Correct.
So pull your fence back if you want a fence. And I think these are Black Hill and Pine, Black Hill, Pine, so I'd recommend like 3 Black Hill. I was hoping Rob was here, you could say, but right there, and then you've screened all around where all that new stuff is. And, you know, an option, if you didn't want to do that, this fence that you put in there, we allow that concrete one, it's very attractive. But I'm guessing you don't want to build that for this short stretch. 'Cause that would be okay too, but one of those, you need to do something to screen from that property.
Well, we actually talked to the vet clinic about that.
Really?
If they wanted something along that side, I'm like, if there's anything that you guys would want, we would do the exact same thing. We could plant in anything for plant-wise that they felt would kind of make it warm and help with the fence. And actually have a plan from their landscape plan, if it helps at all, that shows where their landscaping is around that.
That would be right here.
So yeah, where the highlighted yellow line is. So they have right now 2 autumn glazed maples that are kind of put down there. They have the landscape arborvitaes going around where their dumpsters would be.
Yep, I see it.
So that we discussed, if they wanted something in that corner, we could pull our fence back, we could put it on their property, or whatever they kind of would want to warm it up.
Here's my case for it, is we don't control what happens on that property in the future, and every property we look at that property doing appropriate screening, and at this point, you're right to the property line, which we just don't allow next to another property without some green space and some screening. So if something changes here and they come in and modify something, then there'd be that green fence there. So I would recommend we still screen that side.
Yeah.
We do it the same way you're doing it with the evergreens, but
Yep.
have something there, so if there's some change in this property, it doesn't affect that. Be a recommendation. On the conditions, you already addressed my one concern. You are proposing slats and all the chain link, because in here it talked about only parts of it, so we'd have that down as a condition. And a condition we always have, I didn't see in here, is that the material's not stacked above the fence, because the whole point of a screening fence is to screen the material back there. And I think we actually talked about that when you came in and built your first yard with the concrete wall around it, that you just don't stack above it. Okay, and then a couple other things I would recommend on conditions 5 and 6, and you, I'm sure you assume this, but the way it's worded, it could be worded that we've almost approved the CSM and the utility easement removal. We need to add in that the approval's contingent on Public Works and Council approval of the CSM and Public Works and Council approval of abandonment of the easement, because that hasn't happened yet. So I just, it's something I know is in the works, but for a condition from here, if we want to make a approval tonight, we'd have to keep that as part of the condition. That's all I have. I'm really glad that you're able to work this out with your neighbors, because it could have been a big mess, and that they granted you access to go in there and do it, and the Simon's property, whoever's that is, allowed you to build that firm there. I think I need you to come do some negotiating for me.
Yeah.
Job well done.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think he was happy with adding 9 temp landscape.
It's great when you have a win-win with your neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Lundquist?
I'm satisfied with all the changes based on our last discussion. Some great compromise. I agree with Chris regarding that front little stretch of either pulling the landscape around or matching the existing stone fence, but I think you'll do the landscape was my guess.
Yeah, I think it answered the concerns as far as I understood them and noticed. I think it'll improve the look of that whole area much over what it is now. So I think they'll appreciate the work you're doing. Thank you.
I like your proposed changes to the north side, and I agree with Chris's comments on the additional conditions.
All right. Very good. Do we have a motion?
Move approval with conditions 1 and 4 as written by staff. Condition 5, either add this or make it another condition, but that the approval is contingent on approval by Public Works and the Council of the CSM. And condition 6, the same thing, that our approval is contingent on Public Works and Council approval of abandonment of the sewer easement. And then, depending on if you make those additional conditions or you roll them into those two, it would be 7 or 9 would be that there's slats in all the chain link fence. Condition 8, that the landscape and screening adjustments as discussed tonight on the east side be made. And condition 9, that you don't stack material above the screening.
Second.
Thank you. Do we have all that? All right, very good. There's a second on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right.
We're done. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Congratulations. Okay, we'll move on to item D on our agenda, which is a public hearing on request by Baby Elephants, care of Ashley Ball, tenant, and Dr. Valerie Henderson, property owner, for approval of a zoning permit and site plans for a new use at 1945 West Broadway, Suite 100, for a child care facility. This is case number 217, 2018. If the applicants could come to the podium.
Ashley Ball, 1945 West Broadway. Dr. Henderson couldn't be here today.
Okay.
But just 4 little ones. So I currently work at Sankofa as a licensed marriage and family therapist. I plan on switching over to owning Baby Elephants. She owns that space, and the current tenant didn't want to renew their lease, so it's going to be vacant as of next week. It has been vacant, but they're renovating it because of a leak that happened a month ago from a pipe. So they're all moving back in. It's shared between mailing, equipment, and Sankofa, and so that other about 3,500 square feet is we're hoping to use for Baby Elephants.
Okay.
Just tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah. So, didn't think I would go into this. It's certified for children under the age of 5. We're really trying to make it a pretty safe and fun environment, not too structured for kids to learn and get their developmental skills on their own. My son is 8 months old right now, and I was searching for a lot of daycares in Monona area, and decided that I've been running Sankofa for the last 3 years. I think I can venture off and, start my own. So it was recently certified as of the 23rd, as you could see on the certifications, for my own house. And then we plan, once the renovations are done next week, to hopefully get it up and running if the permit is approved for the playground area and everything like that for the daycare. Yeah.
Is there anyone in attendance who would like to speak regarding this project? All right. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing section, and we'll move on to item E, consideration of action on the request by Baby Elephants. Mr. Homburg, would you like to?
Great. Could I have the document camera? What'd I do? Please? Probably not good enough. Ah, beautiful. Number one, I think it's great that you want to come to Monona and start a business. My biggest question, you're planning on removing all this asphalt right here, correct?
Correct.
And putting in a turf area.
Yeah.
What happens to this driveway? Because it pretty much blocks this driveway. This driveway comes around front, there's some parking stalls, and comes here and hits these 4. And then with this area here, it's basically from here down, it's a dead end, because you've got parking stalls here, you've got a tree, and you've got a transformer.
Right.
So you can't get by it.
So initially, we had it set up to the other side, just around this area.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to Sonia before she left, like that day before she left, and she insisted that it would be best to have it behind. So we got our quotes and everything from the concrete individuals because we wanted to cut it off so that it wasn't sort of this weird all the way around. So we moved it back there and we got a quote that way. To my understanding, she said it would also look better from the view of West Broadway, because the fence, although it would be it would be a nice fence, it still wouldn't be like right beside the building. So you're worried about traffic flow?
Well, I'm worried about a dead end here, that what happens to traffic. Right now, they come through and then they stop and they'd be right here, and do they try to sneak in this 5, 6, 7 feet in the corner, or how do they know, or what happens? And I think before we talk about that, we should really, as a commission, talk about if that is the right place for it, or if it
Yeah.
might work better being, somewhere off this side. It would be a natural break then between these stalls and the back, more industrial area of the building. I'm not sure. I don't know, Sierra, do you know what Sonia's reasoning was to put it in the back?
I do not.
What's everyone else think about that?
I drove over there today to just look at it, to get a better idea, and I kind of wondered why it wasn't being put on the grass, the part that's grass already. But then you're crossing that's the driveway, so if you had it on this, right on the side of the building.
Right
you'd
here.
have to- Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it was
That's where the
initially.
driveway- Okay, so if you had the playground attached to the side of the building right there,
Yeah.
would you then, could they swing the drive around? I mean, there has
Well-
to be a way for cars.
Well,
I was trying to figure out if there was a better way to do it.
It'd be like most sites, and they'd have this front driveway for these stalls that are up here, and these
Okay.
stalls here, which would just stop. I would
It would
recommend
stop
they
right
leave a
there,
little room
okay.
for
Right,
cars to back
that's
out,
what it
but
was.
it stop right about here.
Okay.
And then this back area, you have stalls here and here. Whether somebody has overhead doors here in the future, I don't know, but then that area would just be the back of the
Right,
building.
and then
They
you
wouldn't be
would-
connected.
You wouldn't lose parking places.
Right.
And you wouldn't have that narrow space, which seems a little odd to me.
Yeah,
And
it is.
This seems like a tough area too, right in here.
And it's a little garage, like little door there too. Which is interesting. Okay, so she, I wish I
Yeah.
kept them.
Well, let's
Okay.
get all viewpoints.
That seems more logical to me, because it's the creation of that little narrow odd space that I thought was troubling too, and then you lose some parking, and down the road, you don't know if that's a good idea either, so. I mean, is that grass? I wasn't sure how much of that was part of the lot. I mean, if you.
Not a lot.
That's
Not
all
a lot.
That
WPS.
Okay, so,
All
yeah,
that
that's
turf
what I
there.
thought. So really, if you go out to the side, you're only getting a pretty narrow.
You are, but you're joining grass, which is.
So you're
a nice
joining,
look,
yeah.
And at
I mean, you have a minimum square footage by state standards, correct?
750.
So you would have to orient it so you get up to that minimum square footage. It might take it here and it might hook the building like that a
Right,
little
right.
bit.
But you still have the
You'd have
traffic.
a green space
Yeah.
here that might hook it, which might be really convenient for going out there, but
Right.
it still would be consolidated. You wouldn't have this dead-end road. You'd
Right.
have the front lot and the back lot.
Yeah, that seems more logical to me.
I don't see a hazard to the children playing here. These are yours, and they'd be very low use, and you've got, like you say, an open grass area there.
Would any of the other commissioners like to chime in?
Sure.
Where are the exits to the building?
So there's an exit,
If you point on this,
Yep.
everyone can see.
there's an exit right here.
Is that your building? Part of your, or are you renting? Where are your exits there you're leasing?
Oh, right here.
Okay.
So there's two here, but this is the one that I'm leasing, and
Mhm.
then there's one up here, and then we use the main door, but it's really inside.
Mhm.
I think I thought I gave one that had that one there too.
You could have. Yeah, you gave a floor plan.
So exit, entrance, and then there's another exit from here, but you have to use
Yeah,
this
so
space.
it's kind of right here.
So with the exits pointed out,
Yeah.
I have a sense of it was the connection to the outdoor space being connected to the entry and exit.
Mhm.
And if there was something on the side, that and the additional, making sure that the screening from Broadway is sufficient, I think is some of the reasoning why behind the building may be a desirable place. It comes with its own little challenges, because I think the other exit that feeds the hallway for the other suites within the building
Right.
wants to be able to keep some entrance from outside to be able to enter into that hallway piece. So I can understand why this layout was potentially a desirable one or recommended from Sunny
Okay.
compared to being on the side, because you don't have the exit. The concern that I would have if it hooks the building has to do with visual sight lines, for being
Okay.
able to monitor small children. Since I have two.
Right.
So I could see the desire to have the back a wider location rather than a long, narrow location for
Yeah.
kids to be able to play and for you to be able to set up different areas of play. So those would be some considerations if you went to the side of the building. How are you going to get there? To get the square footage, are you going to have to hook the building? If so, do you have a site and
Okay.
supervision plan to address those pieces?
So originally it did because we had to push it away from the lots that were in front of it.
Yeah.
So it came down a little bit, and I had to put little cones for the contractor, and that's what they said too. So they gave like a good 4 feet from there, and it hooked a little bit. Not a lot. I would say like maybe 4 feet that way too. So it was literally just a walk,
Yeah.
and then to get into the long space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you did bring it out from the door even, but just, as you said, kind of a walkway. into
Walkway.
it,
Yeah.
what's your thought about that narrowness? Is it like too narrow for a playground? Does that work? Then that shape would work? 'Cause-
It does. They're all
'cause then
under.
you're not
oh,
coming
oh.
out into the back so much, and you're not creating that odd configuration in the back. I don't know. And you could add screening just at the north part, the other side of the fence.
Where are you talking, Suze, here?
Like right there. So if it came down, so where that shaded spot is, where the playground is on that would be the doorway. So if you included that
Mhm.
in the fenced
Walkway.
playground area, so there'd be a walkway into it, because you'd need to be able to get there, obviously, and then fence the rest of that narrow area.
Actually, this
I
isn't
don't know
really
if
to
it-
scale with the drawing here, which I assume is
Right.
more accurate. And on
Right.
this drawing, the exit's outside this,
Right.
which I imagine you want the exit outside the playground. And then they
Yeah.
can get into
Yeah,
the
and
playground.
then have the
or
door.
here.
Mhm.
that way.
And for this 1,300 square feet, I just measured it out, it could easily go in here without having any hooks if you chose to. It just, instead of taking the children like that, you'd take the children across to enter the play area. But whoever's supervising, you wouldn't have to hook, you would still have a clear line of sight. And you wouldn't have all this traffic maneuvering right by
Yeah,
the
okay.
kids.
Right, yeah.
The question that I have
Yeah.
is if that space that was proposed in your submission, if that simply moved over to the green space on the edge of the lot.
You
Mhm.
can't, there's a transformer and a couple pedestals.
Oh.
There's a transformer here and a couple
Right,
pedestals. and
right,
this
got it,
tree.
yep.
Yeah, that would be, oh, no, you don't want those inside the fenced-in area. But it's not necessarily bad. You could move it over. It'd be a little irregular shaped and just fence around that area.
Well, the thought was just to be able to keep the bulk of the playground kind of behind the building for reasons that seem desirable, but allowing it to go over all the way to the property line so that you effectively prevent traffic from going back.
Well, yeah, you have to do that or take the asphalt out.
Right.
It would free up some room on the back. Do you know what this is used for?
So it's like a loading
Ramp,
so,
looks like a
yeah.
ramp that almost
Mhm.
flips all the way back? or-
Yeah.
So that you plan on taking that out?
Mhm. If we had to use it that way.
So either here or slid over. that could stay, and if somebody ever decided to repurpose that building and use that overhead door again, that ramp would still be there. I'm not advocating for it one way or another, but it would leave a little more flexibility for the building.
Okay. Would anyone like to?
Well, I think the key is that we're all in agreement that somehow we have to keep the traffic from dead ending in here. So I don't know what your intention is, if it's to, when you move the playground, to at least take out a portion of this asphalt so there's a little grass there, so it doesn't look like you can drive through the playground.
Yeah, so initially when we had it over there and it was spaced, we had quoted in those big, huge concrete things that sort of like they have in the highway that you can't go through for the cars.
Jersey
Up against-
barriers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Up against, clearly I don't do this. Up against the fence, like close to it.
Okay.
And so they had that in the quote.
Okay.
But then since we moved it back there, we didn't really add it in there because we didn't anticipate people coming all the way
Sure.
down and around.
If it did go to the side, I would not want us to have a huge concrete
Right.
Jersey barrier. So, I'm fine either way. If it's tucked this way, slid over to the property line, or the long, I mean, I'm fine either way for that piece.
Let me ask, if I
Yeah.
may, if it were over here, what rooms, how are you utilizing those rooms? Is there a better, can you see, does it give you
Yeah.
better visibility here than if it's right here? Is there better visibility? I mean, I know you have to have somebody out there.
On that side,
Yeah,
and then there's only two on the side.
and is there ever anybody in these rooms when the kids are being supervised out there?
Supposed to be, yes. One's like a little sensory room.
Okay, it's just, I'm not trying to decide for, certainly for her, but I don't know what the pleasure of the commission is, what feels better. We're trying to design it on the spot.
Well, to clarify for the applicant and for the chair, what exactly is the issue on the side where the pavement is, where you're proposing that the playground be placed?
Mhm.
If you've referred to taking pavement out, I mean,
Oh, sure.
is it sufficient to put up bollards or something that would prevent traffic from going back there?
But you have to take the pavement out to put the grass in.
Understood.
Okay,
But-
so what I was talking about was just here, I'm just worried that this is a long driveway, it looks like you can get in there, so at that point, you'd probably add the Jersey barriers, you don't want to take the pavement out. And the Jersey barriers would be fine, they're not going to drive through there, it's something to protect the fenced-in area with children playing in it, potentially, although I doubt you'll have them there at night, right, at your hours?
Oh, but they won't be playing at night.
Yeah. So I can go either, I like your idea, either sliding this over here as far as we can, or putting it up here, and I think either one would work. If there's not a strong consensus on the commission, is there a strong consensus on the applicant whose property this is going to be?
Dr. Henderson doesn't care either way. I think it's a matter of giving Diggers the hotline and them telling us, I think.
You're going to be running this for her, correct?
Yeah.
And what do you like?
What do I like?
Yes.
I do like it in the back. I really do.
Okay, so then we could just slide it over, it's gonna be a little irregular, you're going to wanna keep that.
Right.
I mean, if the tree's in there, it wouldn't hurt anything, but you certainly wanna keep the transformer and PEDs out of there,
Right.
okay? All right,
You might even end up with a bigger play area.
you could.
I know. You only
Nicer
need
playground.
750, but I tried to like at least double it for kiddos, so they don't have to come out in like sections.
Your hours are till 9 PM though, correct?
They are.
So there could be activity out there after dark, I mean, it gets dark by 4:30, 5 o'clock in the wintertime.
What do you mean?
We
As
have
far as
kids out in
them
the
out there?
playground?
Not that late.
Okay,
Mm-mm.
all right, thank you.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, is there someone who would like to entertain a motion?
Move approval with the 3 conditions written by staff, and add condition 4 that we slide the playground area to the east to towards the property line as discussed at the Plan Commission meeting tonight, making sure that the transformer and PEDs are out of the playground area. And condition 4, that there's some Jersey barriers that protect the playground area for traffic approaching from the north down the dead-end driveway that will be created with this.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further comments?
So one piece, I'm making an assumption that this was because it's a new use for this space, that by getting to this piece that we've already made the assumption that it's the right location for this type of business.
That's a good point.
I've never done this before, but I did think like, oh, that was easy.
Yeah. So we might want to circle back to kind of at least have some verification in the minutes that we've had a discussion about the zoning aspect for the business, and then a clarification regarding the Jersey barrier and the requirement in the condition, or if there was sufficient way of preventing access to the back area. So I just want clarification on that.
You mean that it wouldn't need to be a Jersey barrier, it could be removal and grass put in there or something?
Absolutely. It sounded like the applicant would rather put in Jersey barriers and pull out all the asphalt and plant it. I think pulling out the
Interior?
asphalt and planting it would be awesome. We could add some green space to this area. I think that'd be terrific.
It would be.
We can always add one or the other
Okay?
and leave it up to the applicant.
Right.
May I accept that as a friendly amendment?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Okay?
Yeah, so.
all right,
Yes.
very good.
Right.
Are there any further comments?
Yeah, sure. As far as the use, I think it'll work here. This is kind of an odd area in Monona. It's almost like a dead-end feeder off the Southtown area. So I looked at it. I don't see a lot of traffic going by the building. It is close to Broadway, but especially where they're putting the playground area, I don't see an issue there. As far as drop-offs, the biggest problem is going to be now that we cut this off, you don't have full circulation, but there's a lot of parking on this site.
There it is.
And we talked about that a little bit, so as long as you keep, and that's certainly your responsibility, to make sure you have a safe place to drop off kids and that they're
Right.
escorted, they're young kids, they need to be watched and monitored till they get into your care.
Definitely.
But when I looked at the property and drove through it, it looks like there's adequate pavement and facilities for all that as far as accessibility for the kids to drop offs. I don't see that the drop offs will create a problem for any of the neighboring properties. The biggest neighbor it would create a problem for would be the other two tenants in the building. And the building owner is the one that this zoning permit is granted to, not necessarily you. It's the person that owns the property. It's their
Right.
zoning permit, and they're looking at their building if they think they're going to affect their building. But I don't think it will affect the adjacent properties.
Okay,
Oh, anybody else?
I agree. I think it's a wonderful location, and I know that there's continued struggle to find adequate childcare, and the hours and location is wonderful, particularly with a lot of other businesses in the area to
Yeah.
be able to
Thank you.
support that. Thank you.
any other comments? All right, there is a motion on the table. All in favor?
With a friendly amendment,
With the
correct?
friendly
That you
amendment, yes.
Could certainly take out the asphalt and plant it. Grass, that'd be great.
And are you good with what we've discussed? And,
As much as I've been able to keep up with, yes,
okay,
in a sense.
all right, very good.
Yeah, yeah.
So all in favor of the amended motion, say aye.
Aye.
It is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have item F, consideration of action on request by Carl Sansness, PLS, and property owner Jim Whitehorse for approval of the 4-lot CSM at 1208 East Broadway, Lot 2 of CSM 8819, case number 2/12/2018. Would the applicant please come up to the podium?
I'm Carl Sansness from Royal Oak, 3678 Kinsman. last time we were here, we talked about the CSM, and you had 2 recommendations for us to do, and we did do those, and
I struggle. I know now that it's a document camera. Can we do the document camera again, please? There we go. Thank you.
Yeah, the first recommendation was by the committee was to put a 15 by 15 signage easement on the proposed Lot 4, which we did right at the corner of the private drive and Broadway. And the other request was to maintain a 50-foot strip for the private drive going all the way out. We did a quick claim deed from the old Lot 3 to this parcel, so we now have a 50-foot strip going all the way out to Broadway. Is there any more questions?
Mr. Homburg, would you
I
like?
have a couple, I have a couple observations since our last meeting. One issue, and you're very well aware of it, is, and I'm not even sure if the county has to weigh in it, but we're coming off a county highway, and we have to have some type of a minimum no access area from where you get onto your private road. The way it is right now, if you look at the C-store, this is basically asphalt from here to here, and it's just like a free-for-all. When it's one user, that's fine.
Right.
But now that we're talking about users, even a potential hotel or whatever they're gonna generate for traffic, you can't just have open access all the way. It's an accident waiting to happen, especially that close to a county
Right.
trunk highway.
We looked into that issue, and we feel that concrete valley gutters will then show where the drive lanes are.
Yeah, I would respectfully disagree with a valley gutter all the way, because if we have it open all the way here, there'll be cars trying to come and go like that, and when somebody's trying to come in here and the traffic starts to back up on BW or East Broadway, it would create a traffic
Right.
issue. And you've done enough roads in your
Yeah.
life, you know how that works.
I sure do.
And so when I was there tonight, I tried to pace it off, and, normally you'd be looking at 75 to 100-foot no access strip, which can't be done here because it would eliminate the front 2 lots from any access.
Exactly.
So I tried pacing it off, and basically, from the property line, about 32 foot back is the center of that canopy. And so that's why I'm saying if we ended up with about a 32, give or take, no access for just the beginning of both these lots, that allows somewhere for refuge for a car, for cars to come in before they're hitting conflicting traffic.
Right.
And what it would allow you would be a typical curb cut, and again, we would look for a regular curb cut, 30,
Okay.
35 feet, but then you do just like every other site. Every site we look at traffic flow, how we contain it, how we organize it. You would likely end up with a curb cut with, like you do on every other lot, something getting you around and down to the canopy and the C-store. This would take you straight in shot into this side of the canopy. You'd have to make that maneuver to go to that side. But what it would do is it would give refuge for a car or 2 cars trying to come off of here. At 32, you've got a 5-foot sidewalk. That's 37. That's just about enough for 2 cars. They get their nose in there, but it's not good. It doesn't hit traffic standards, but you're trying to work with an existing site we have. So I was over there trying to figure out how we could best do it and maintain some traffic safety
Right.
off of BW and still maintain good access for your customer. And so that was my idea. And then we have the same thing on this lot, is be like the first 32 feet. If you have a 10-foot landscape area and a 18-foot parking stall, that's 28. Maybe we make it 30, but that is still allow you to come in where you would come in with the driveway anyway on that side.
Right.
For whatever develops here. That's
Yeah, that's
The
part of the
big-
design for the driveway and
It
everything.
is,
yes.
but at the time when we approve this, we need to look at
Yeah.
what we're going to do
Right.
there. Now, you
But it's
understand, you can't
feasible.
just have a valley gutter this whole way and just have free flow traffic
Right,
coming through. It's no
right.
different than any other parking lot you put in our
Yeah.
street. You'd have to have some
yeah.
way to channel the people, because if you don't, they will drive like maniacs. I'm sorry, but they will.
I know.
They'll park everywhere. So that was my number one thought. Can you tell me meander line? What's the deal with this meander line? We're over here.
I drafted, got that mixed up.
See, right here, meander line?
Yeah.
There's a meander line
Yeah, because it's,
from the waterway?
because,
I see an environmental
Yeah,
corridor,
the-
and where I'm going with that is there a buffer restriction on that environmental corridor?
no.
Okay? So, we know that?
Yeah,
Okay, if it's a CSM, it doesn't go to the county, so they don't have any authority to
Right.
impose one. My other question would be though, does the county need to review and approve this? Because it's entering and exiting on the county, or are we good, do we have that authority?
It's a great question.
I'm not positive either. And that's another reason why I think when we come in, if they do have any authority, and when we've looked at it and we have that no access for the first part of this private road,
Mhm.
something you know they're gonna want, and you know the county, they're going 150 feet.
yeah.
And we can't do it. We can't do, if we do 150 feet, we ruin frontage on Broadway, and we can't do that. We have to be able to adapt to what we have right there, right now. So I was just curious, so there's no buffer requirement then here, right now?
No,
Okay, and this, it says you weren't vacating, you need to vacate. There's no point in having it. This is the joint access, joint driveway that exists right now.
what?
It's a 24-foot joint driveway access agreement.
That's still in place because,
Why?
lot 3, the gas station,
Mm-hmm.
is now coming onto is a private road for this lot 2. He still needs permission to go over there, and it's gonna remain there.
Well, but it's over the private road that you're gonna give them permission, and I'm only saying it because we just approved one last time, was at Avid Hotel, where we looked at CSM, there's all these old easements on there that aren't needed. In my opinion, I don't know why this would be needed, because you would have to give this lot, the C-store, you'd have to give them permission to use this private road. That would be
And
with,
then ingress egress permission is with the quick lane.
well,
To do exactly
yeah,
that.
but quickly you might not be in that exact position. How wide's your road gonna be? It might be like here, and then we're
The
gonna
quick,
have.
their ingress egress easement goes all the way to this side.
Right,
Yeah.
okay, so once you do that, then this isn't required. Because you have an ingress, egress,
You mean the
Easement.
strip?
yeah, this little 24-foot strip.
We made the 24 strip, so it was jointly with the lot 2. So lot 2 for the CSM cannot take that out of lot 3, which was over here. So we would only have 25 feet.
Well, you're quick claiming that though, right?
We already did.
Okay,
We
so
quitclaimed
my
that.
question is this is an old easement, right? This 24-foot joint easement is the old one between these two properties.
Right.
Why would you need that?
So the gas station still has the right for access in and out of here.
But aren't you giving them?
There's a private
If you,
drive.
If you'd like to come to the podium.
Everybody that's watching this online can't hear you.
Because that portion, Ruth Ann Whitehorse, I'm actually representing my father, Walter Whitehorse,
Okay.
4907 Whitehorse Place, McFarland. That portion of the quitclaim deed was actually my dad's property, which is the gas station.
Mhm.
That's why we got the quitclaim deed. We needed to get the permission. They needed to get permission to use part of that driveway.
Mhm.
So that's why that was there.
Okay. Does anybody else understand this?
I
Well,
don't-
let me try to
I don't know what.
say what I
you're-
don't understand, and that might help clarify. So the easement that exists right now is the 24-foot, and that makes sense because it's to be able to access the gas station as is right now, before you were even here with this. It made sense.
Right.
With this new CSM and moving things around, by putting that private drive in, you will be required, with or without that easement there, to allow them entry and exit onto the private drive.
Right.
And so if we did away with the current 24-foot easement, the gas station will still have entrance and exit
Exactly.
by the new
Because it's private
process.
property.
Right.
It's a private drive, and it's
But-
by the White Horse Partnership, and the other one is the White Horse
Rentals.
Rentals.
Agreed, but all 5 of these lots will have ingress and egress rights over this private road.
That's correct.
So by an agreement, you have ingress and egress over this whole thing.
Yes, it's the main driveway
Right.
that's there
Right.
anyway.
Right, but so
Right.
why would you want to have this 24-foot easement over the top of somewhere
Because
you
that was-
already have
That's
access?
because your recommendation was to get the additional 25 feet,
Mhm.
to keep the 50 feet
Mhm.
all the way out. Well, when we did the quitclaim deed, this parcel sold, or just quitclaimed it over to lot 2.
Mhm.
Without an agreement for ingress egress, they wouldn't have the rights to go across it.
Right. They could actually block it and say you can't use this road or this driveway.
Hold on a second. This is the old easement right here. I mean, this way it's skewed.
I understand all that. I understand everything, but
The-
what I don't understand is you are going to, through this process, grant full access to this lot over this private driveway,
Right.
correct? So once you've done that, you've granted full access over this whole thing, not just this little 24-foot
That was
strip.
never brought up. And yes, we could do that.
That would
Yeah,
be the way
we
you'd
could.
want to do it.
Exactly.
So
I don't have a problem with that. And
Yeah.
then the quitclaims or the egress can go away.
Exactly. The point
Yes.
is,
That's fine. That we can put on the CSM.
we wouldn't want to hamstring any lot where they didn't have
Exactly.
access. So every one of these lots needs to have access to this private
Right.
road, or they're not saleable,
Right.
viable, buildable lots.
Right.
Right.
Every one has to have
And
that
that's why we're
access.
trying to protect lot 3.
Right, I think it's a protection you don't need, and all I'm saying is it muddies CSMs in the future when people don't understand this. We just went through this, and it's hard to figure out why some of these old access easements are in and who they're in favor of, and trying to clean them up later is difficult.
I agree.
Right now, it's a really easy thing to do. And I agree with protecting your C-store lot. It has to be protected. I don't think this commission would allow this road without doing that. But by having this 50-foot road, every lot in the property, and that, if it's not a condition, it will be, has to have ingress egress access to that private
We
road.
can add that to the CSM
Yes.
very easily.
Well, it's removal of the old easement that we're talking
Well,
about.
Right.
those can go away once they have the rights to use that,
Yes.
Right.
this driveway.
And it's greater rights for the C-Star because that road might not be built exactly like this. You have rights to this whole easement area, whatever ingress and egress is there, you have rights to use the entire
Exactly.
thing.
So,
Okay.
that's not a problem.
All I had.
I had a question, and I like the additional 15 by 15 sign easement, and maybe some others can make sure that I have this understood correctly. One of the reasons why we brought that up was the idea of some of the lots that don't have frontage on East Broadway have the ability to have some signage up there. I can't remember from previous discussions if easement was enough. So if we think through some other properties where giving easement off the property onto another property for signage has not been allowed, versus the idea of having a single area for a signage for a collection of properties behind it. And I think that's,
Another notation that could be put on the CSM, that all 4 lots have the rights to use that for signage.
Yeah.
You're asking the question if we've done it as a commission, and I would say go to Pier 37. And we've allowed one unified signage area for a comprehensive development that's all developed together. And so in this case, it was a recommendation from here, but I would see where we would say, if we're creating these lots, we want them viable, we want somebody to know they're back there, and to be able to have a sign on the road and know that, as a commission, we think would be reasonable for this comprehensive, small development. Very similar to Pier 37, where we've allowed it.
Right.
so would it be here that we?
But you're right, it's off-site signage, which we don't allow. It clearly is.
Yeah, so would we indicate that the sign easement is for one landscape
I think it's a
landscape
good
sign
point for
that has?
unified sign for the
Yeah.
entire for the entire CSM.
That makes sense for me.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions or comments from any other commissioners?
That's all I have.
Are we,
I don't know, I think are you,
I'm
you're
happy.
good with everything?
Yeah,
Okay.
everything sounds good.
Then I'll move approval with condition 1 that all lots in this CSM plus lot 3 of CSM 8819 have ingress egress rights to the private road or private drive. Lot 3 CSM 8819 is yours.
Yep.
That the building be demolished prior to the city signing off on the CSM. That we vacate then the 24-foot joint drive easement. That there's a no access note on the CSM, no vehicle access for the first 30 feet of the private drive. And that there's a note also that the landscape sign easement is an area for all the lots in the CSM to be able to share for identification for this development area.
On a single,
Oh, absolutely, on a single landscape ground sign.
Can I ask why the building has to dip the, oh, okay.
One second.
Yeah.
We have to have a second before we can discuss.
Yeah. Do we have a second?
I'll
for the-
second.
Okay.
That's just Robert's rules. We can't discuss it once there's, so.
All right, so please,
Can I
ask.
ask why the building has to be demolished before you even approve a CSM?
State law, you can't have a building across property lines. It's illegal.
Oh, because that is across property
Yeah.
lines, isn't it?
Yeah, and so we can't sign off on a CSM when we know there's a building coming across property
Okay.
lines.
So we gotta get that done
Yeah, we
fast in
discussed
order
that
to
when you were
get-
last time, and
okay.
that, I mean, you're aware of this
Yeah,
requirement
okay.
too.
Okay,
It's not because we want you to just tear your building down, but if you want to do this before you
Mhm.
can do it, it
Okay.
can't be across. We
But
can't,
once
we
we get
can't
that done,
allow you to
we
create
can-
property lines through buildings.
okay,
So we can't put a fence across there,
okay.
you know, for trespassers.
Okey-doke. I think that's all.
Okay, are we all clear, and we're good
You
with?
get the notes on those conditions,
Yes.
right? Because I didn't
Yeah.
get them done.
Oh.
I couldn't write fast enough.
Yes, Mr.
Can
Halpern.
I add a condition? Would that be okay? That
Depends
this-
on what
this-
We'll entertain it.
This is contingent on Public Works and City Council approving the CSM.
True.
Well,
And
that's
and
a
yes.
condition of approval.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
version, Public Works did approve, but
Okay.
the changes that we discussed.
Yep.
thought that-
I don't know if that's see it again or not, but we don't have authority to speak for the council or Public Works.
Well, Public Works meets on Wednesday of this week, so it
Great.
would.
I would love their input on that, no vehicle access for that period. I'm sure they'll understand, but I'd love their input anyway.
Yeah,
And they might have a different recommendation for council,
It's for the-
ultimately council
For coming in on
votes on it.
right. I don't know if it's problematic to get it on the agenda within 48 hours, but
It's a minor change, it'll be up to the chair. Who chairs that?
I do. Okay.
Inside track.
So, okay, very good. So, we have an amended action on the table. Seeing no further comments, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Now we are moving on to item G, public hearing on request by Mobcraft Beer, Inc., care of Henry Schwartz, and property owner Vagabond Capital, LLC, for approval of a temporary beer sales tent at 103 West Broadway, case number 2/18/2018. Would the applicant, okay, is the person requesting it here tonight? All right, well, this is a public hearing, so feel free to come up and.
And state your name and address, please.
Craig Hayes, I own Tully's, 6401 Monona Drive, Monona. My comments on this is, if this was a one-time deal, we wouldn't care, but it's not, so we have concerns. One is traffic. Tully's already has 4 different businesses using our driveway, getting across our parking lot or coming in from the liquor store side, which is even worse due to the speed factor. I hope you can hear I got voice problems, so y'all can hear me. It is already too busy with too many close calls with vehicles or with our customers walking to their cars. For safety reasons, we don't need another business, even if it's only one day a month, especially one that's serving alcohol and on football Sundays when it's already very busy. If this is approved, it's going to set a new standard for Monona, meaning every bar and liquor store in town, including Tully's, will be asking for similar proposals. We have several vendors who would love to do the same to promote their and distribute their product, but instead we allow them to promote their products inside our building where it's already designed, built, and licensed for doing it. We suggest they do the same. Mobcraft is saying 100 customers per day with only 4 parking stalls. I mean, how in the heck is that going to work? 4 stalls for 100 customers? You know, it can't work. According to the picture, it shows a trailer with tappers on it. So we are assuming there will be beer sold and/or free samples given out. We had to spend a lot of money so our customers could drink outside in a totally enclosed and fenced patio, and they want to do it in an open-air tent, unfenced and whatever, you know. Bottom line, if this is approved, the city won't be able to turn down other similar requests. There is no reason for an outside tent. It can be done inside a building like all other bars and liquor stores are doing, including serving alcohol inside a controlled environment. There's a safety concern with additional traffic, and there's definitely not enough parking for what they're asking for. And there's no reason for a tent too. I mean, it's like a billboard. You know, we came and put a sandwich board down the street without problems. You know, so this is just, to me, it's bizarre that you know, we don't need it, and they don't need it. They can do it inside the building like every other liquor store in bar does today. So that's my comments on it.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Do any commissioners have questions of?
Are we public hearing or no?
It is. We're in the public hearing.
Close it and then talk
Oh.
about it? Close the
We
public
can do
hearing.
that, sure. So we'll close the public hearing and we'll move on to consideration of action on the request by Mobcraft Beer.
Question, was the applicant aware that there was a meeting tonight and they should appear?
Yes, it was
Okay.
notified.
Move the table.
All right.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion?
Can't discuss the
Oh.
table.
Well, there you go. It's tabled.
No.
No.
you have to vote.
All in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Aye.
It's tabled.
Okay.
Thank you for your
So-
comments.
Appreciate it. So one question, so if they come back and want to redo it, we'll get notified again about it, I take it?
Well, yes,
Yeah,
I mean,
should
you should keep your eyes on the agenda for this
Okay.
commission, but yes.
Okay.
Which would
All
be
right.
next month, right, would be the next meeting.
Yeah.
It's 1 month, every month they do this?
And you can go on the city website and you can actually request that plan commission agendas be sent to you and so then they'll come to you.
All right.
And you'll open
Okay.
it up and.
Sounds good. Thanks for all
That'd
your
be good in
time.
your business. You'd be able to tell everybody what's going on around town.
That's right.
No. A point of clarification before you leave.
Yeah.
A tabled item, will it show up on every agenda in the old business as a tabled item, or only when
We
we
haven't in the
plan to
past.
removal?
When the chairs approve the next agenda, if it includes it, then it would show up. In the past, it just stays there.
But it includes it in the sense of, if something is tabled, it's always on the table and can be removed at any time? And so therefore it would need to be
Technically.
notified
It
on
would
every
have,
agenda.
it would have to be on the agenda to take an action on it.
But a tabled
Yeah.
item,
Would appear, like, if we're on the next agenda and we didn't act on it, would it be automatically included? I mean,
Well, I think one way to probably predict what would happen is if the applicant does not show up at the next meeting, it probably will not be acted on there either.
I
But-
could suggest that if something isn't put on the next agenda, we wouldn't act on it.
Well, right, we can't.
It's not an agenda item.
That's,
True.
that's been on the agenda even if it's been tabled, right? I mean, for the next
In
meeting.
the past, we haven't put a tabled item on the next agenda unless there's been an applicant there or a request to act on it. We've not just kept it on the agenda.
Okay.
We've
Oh,
not put it back on until we knew that there was a possibility of taking action. And we've never taken an action on something unless it's been on the agenda with possible action noticed.
Correct. Well, it's not going to be acted on if it isn't on the agenda. That's
Correct. That's what I'm
definitely the
trying to
case.
say.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it would be on the agenda next time, or probably won't be on the agenda?
Well, it probably will be on the agenda next time, but if it isn't on the agenda, then you don't need to show up to the meeting.
All right,
Okay?
thanks very much.
You're welcome. Okay. So now we are moving on to item I, which is a public hearing on a request by Aldo Leopold Nature Center, care of Michael Strigel, for approval of building improvements and new drop-off circulation at 330 Femright Drive. Case number 219-2018.
Hi,
Welcome.
thank you. I'm Mike Striegel, 330 Femright Drive, Aldo Leopold Nature Center. Grateful for the opportunity to see you tonight and happy to answer your questions. To summarize briefly, the Nature Center was before you in 2010 to look at a 11,000 square foot expansion of our facility on the land that we lease from you, the 20 acres that we lease from the city, which we're very grateful for. That expansion has done a lot of good things for the Nature Center, brought a lot more to us, but we learned that the way we configured that space didn't really fit our needs as well as we thought it would. And so the essence of this application is within our existing footprint to reconfigure our space to better serve our mission, which is to educate children and connect them to nature on the site. In addition to that, we see an opportunity to add a nature-based preschool within that existing footprint as well. So that's the outlines of the project, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is there anyone in attendance who would like to make a public comment? All right. Hearing none.
Unless you need him to, I think you.
I will close the public hearing, and we will consider action on the request. I'll look to the other end of the table to see if there's someone that would like to ask a question.
I don't really have any questions. I don't have any, Joe?
I don't have any right at the moment.
Okay.
I don't have, I mean, I don't have any concerns. I think it looks like a pretty exciting proposal, personally, and it does, from the fewer times than I should have been in that lovely place. It looks like good use of the space to me. I mean, it does, I think it makes sense, so.
Thank you.
I don't have concerns that I see.
Great. Yes.
How are you planning on getting the kids in and out of there?
Very similar to how we do it now. So
Okay,
the-
help me out. How do you do it now?
During the school year, we do primarily field trips. So the 9 months of the school year, we have buses that drop the kids off in a bus parking lot.
So your parking lot where the permeable pavers are, you drop kids off there?
Correct, on the very western edge of our
Yeah,
property.
You know the one, and then you have a path.
And there's a
going down.
path, an accessible path that comes all the way to the
So for
property.
daycare, do you expect the parents to park there, or do you think they'll come into your turnaround
They'll
up
come into
front?
the main turnaround, and what that will be comparable to is our summer camp program. So summer camps is a very different time for us. The 3 months of the summer are drop-offs and pickups at about the same times that we'll see that for the preschool. And the preschool will only operate as a preschool during the 9 months of the school year.
Okay.
So we anticipate that we'll actually have less traffic drop-off and pickup-wise during the school year than we do during a typical summer camp day. So right now, that turnaround area and the parking lot there functions fairly well for us, even though that's about 90 to 100 kids who are coming to the facility every day. And with the preschool, we'll be looking at about 32 per day.
But
And
they're
then,
coming at all the same time with those 32 versus, are the 90 stretched
yeah,
out
they're,
through the day? Or
no,
all the
they're
same time?
same time
Okay.
as well. They're coming
And-
primarily at 9 in the morning and pick up around 4:30.
And Traver coached you well, your parking lot was empty today, you had all the parking in the world. So I imagine
Well,
everybody parked out of the way somewhere.
No, I will admit, today's a light day. He didn't have to coach me on that, although he did say he talked to you. And he said I had to be prepared for questions, but,
Well,
no, you're
it's
right.
important.
No, it is very
You know,
important, and I
You're
think,
talking about pretty young kids, and you need to get them in there in a safe area. I drove around, you've got a nice turnaround there where some parents, you're expecting parents to drop off and pick
Exactly.
up.
The
But
parents
that's what
will-
you have in the summer.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
parents walk the kids in
Okay.
to the facility right now, sign their kids in, and then so they have to park.
And
they
you've been
come
able to
in.
do that with 90 kids coming at a time?
Exactly.
Or a
Exactly.
similar hour. Okay, and then you have some notes in here about your only exterior renovations are to the west entrance. Can you explain that?
Sure, if you want to do the special.
That is actually
the
a
document reader.
camera.
I still haven't
Can
learned.
we have the
how to do
document
it.
camera, please?
Yeah. This is something we're actually excited about. You just lay it right here.
Yes, just so you can read it. Here we go.
Okay, great.
And you just point and everybody can see it.
So right now, this hallway right here,
Mm-hmm.
dead ends. There's no doorway right
Yeah, it's there today. It's actually about a foot below grade.
Exactly. So
Okay.
we'll have to do a little bit of grading there, but that will be a doorway. One of the big reasons we want to add that is it allows us, well, it'll be a nice exit out into the outdoors. We want these classrooms, they all have, these doors
Okay,
exist.
let's be clear though. These are the classrooms you're talking about for the preschool,
Correct.
right? Okay.
This is the preschool.
Right, thanks.
and That was the original building built in 1997. The expansion came from essentially here.
Mhm.
We're only adding a door here. There may be a door needed here for these outdoor classrooms, but that, all we'll add to that side of the building over that door is an awning. So
Okay, and
that's
how
what
do you
we'll-
plan to address the grade difference?
Well, we will have to do some grading there. This is Steve Meyer, who's the, Meyer Construction, who will be probably doing our building
Okay.
for us and is consulted on our planning. So,
Okay.
do you want to speak to that at all?
Yeah, that'll just be graded so
Nick.
that, that area will just be graded minimally to allow water to flow around the building and allow access in from that end of the
So you
building.
think you've got the grade there to do that? 'Cause it looked a
Yeah.
little difficult when I was there. But you'll have to be coming quite
Yeah.
a bit around to the south, I would guess, to be able to get that to go.
Yeah,
So you're gonna have at grade, you're not gonna have a ramp inside the hallway, you're gonna
No,
get the grade
right.
outside down to match? Okay,
Mhm. Yep.
right. It makes some sense to have an entrance there because all your traffic from that bus drop off is right down there. It would make a lot of sense, actually. But
Mhm.
I'm curious, when you said you're gonna make modifications to your west entrance, I didn't see a west entrance.
Right. Right, it's currently not an
Same.
entrance. Thank you.
We're gonna create a west entrance.
Yeah, better than saying modifications to a west.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Good. Are there, is
Yeah,
there?
comment, I think it's great what you do.
Oh,
I think
thank
it's
you very
awesome.
much.
You're an asset to the whole east side and love the fact that Monona, has you and can tout all the things that you do for this whole community, the whole Dane County area. It's awesome.
Well, thank you, and let me return the favor. The city has been great to work with. I've been at the Nature Center just for 3 years and building on all the great things that have happened. But since I've been there, the city's been great to work with.
Yeah, this seems like an amazing opportunity to do a logical change in your programming, expanding it, to attract those kids in. It is great programming.
Just the idea of it with the families who currently use the facility, we already have a waiting list, and we haven't even officially said we're able to do it. And people say, well, if you do it, I want to be there, so put me on your waiting list. So that's been a nice sign.
All right, do we have a motion?
Move approval of conditions as written by staff.
Second. Do we have any further comments on that?
Yeah. Is this just for the building improvement? Wouldn't this be a new use as well?
No, because they have classrooms right now, where, I mean, it's not, I don't feel like it's expanded use, because they have classroom programming all year long, so this would, all summer long, so this would be the expansion of existing use, I think. Would you
Sounds
agree?
good. Just want to make sure because
Yep.
it came up earlier.
Yeah.
Want to be
Okay.
consistent.
Am I right in that you have classroom programming, not
Yeah.
just here, but even other classrooms, but you have that programming
Absolutely.
all summer?
Absolutely.
All right. Any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right,
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
very good.
Very cool. I think it'll enhance these.
Deja vu from 25 years ago.
You miss us, don't you? Not a bit.
All right, we'll move on to item 7, reports of staff and commission members. There is no update on the, oh, okay.
So you'll notice Vandewall's not here to present. They will be at our October 8th meeting. I have the new drafted sign code ordinance for you all to review, giving you plenty of time to look that over. As you're looking through it, if you have clarifying questions, feel free to email me and I'll try and help you figure that out. If you have questions that you think should be flagged for discussion, make sure you're noting those so that when Vandewall does come to present, we can talk about it as a full commission instead of just the subcommittee that's been working on it so far. And I'll get those to you tonight. I have them here. Other thing, the UW extension training on September 27th. Right now we have in attendance the mayor, me, Mr. Hamburg, Ms. Fox, and Alder Moore will be attending, as well as Jen Cure from the ZBA. If you are interested in attending this, the city will cover the cost of registration. It's not too late. We can still get you registered, so if you'd like to do that, just let me know and I can get you signed up for it. The 27th meeting is going to be about zoning and subdivision regulations and some of the new laws that have come out about that. And that's all I have.
All right. So we are not planning on meeting on the 24th, but we are expected to meet on October 8th, I believe, and we'll see about the 22nd. Are there any requests for information concerning upcoming projects? Mr.
I'm
Homburg.
going to get a little outside of the scope, but first, do we want to introduce the interim planner?
Well, sure.
Sure.
Would you like to?
That'd be great.
Yeah, so this is Corey Anderson, the interim planner, coming to us from Portage with General Engineering.
Yep,
Yeah.
correct.
Feel free to introduce yourself in any further capacity.
Yeah, so maybe just a quick background on myself. I've been with General for 21 years now. My main background with General is a municipal engineer, but I've been doing zoning administration for most of those years. Probably more recently, you've heard of the Dane County opt-out towns, the 6 that opted out. I am the zoning administrator for 5 of those 6. So appreciate you having me on board.
Welcome.
Thank you.
A couple, again, it's not really a request for development project, but just procedural. We didn't have a public hearing tonight on the Carl Sands on the CSM.
That was because we had a pre-hearing conference and a public hearing at the July 23rd
Yeah,
meeting.
pre-hearing conference I'll talk about in a minute, but we still, I know we're only required to have one, but our policy is to always have a public hearing because not many people come, but if somebody wants to come or somebody says, boy, I didn't know about it, we have always posted every meeting that we can with a public hearing, just for transparency. We want people, we want the neighbors to know what's going on in their neighborhood. So it's just, it's not required, but it's something the planning commission has always done, unless it's something like perhaps, I notice there's no public hearing on the sign for the church, but even that, why not? Notice a few people within, what is it, 300 feet that you do for that?
200 feet.
200 feet, yeah. And so at least the policy of the commission has always been to try to let people know what's going on. And maybe somebody wants to call and comment on that sign, or who knows what. So I just think it's good policy for us to let everybody know. And then pre-hearing conferences I want to talk about. We had a lot of stuff. We had no pre-hearing conferences. We've always, if it has any substance to it at all, we'd like to have a pre-hearing conference. Let the applicant know, number one, Brian's point, is this appropriate? Yeah, before you spend a lot of money on plans. And then, does the commission have a lot of things they want to see? And I'm not saying everything has to have a pre-hearing, but generally, we have a pre-hearing unless the planner talks to the chair and the chair says, yeah, I think we can do this one-on-one hearing. It's a lot like what you do on council. You generally have 2. It gives people a chance to see a proposal, digest it a little bit, think about it, come back. And there were a couple things that came up on the census tonight that, you know, I hadn't thought about or nobody else thought about that we actually added tonight. So it's not a bad policy. Now, I know sometimes people have issue that they really are in a hurry for, and at that point, it's generally discretion of the chair if you want to take it down to one meeting. But I don't think it's a bad idea to keep trying to have the pre-hearing conference, go through things with the applicant, especially anything of any substance. Don't spend a lot of money until you even see if you're going down the right road here. So it's just a comment. And then procedurally, we had 2 unfinished business that we kept under new business. They really should be under unfinished, and the reason, there's 2 reasons for that. Number one, they had to pay the price of sitting through all this once, and so we try to get them out a little earlier. But 2, we've already gone over them, so there's usually not as much to talk about. When we have a pre-hearing conference, usually by the final hearing or the action item, it's usually a pretty quick item, so you get those out of the way so they don't sit through it again. So those are just observations, because I know we're going through a lot of change right here, and we're in a little flux, so.
Those are excellent points, I think.
Thank you.
I appreciate you making them.
Well, I know, I'm looking at you because you're chair tonight, but I know
Yeah.
Nancy's the chair, so I'm sure
Yeah.
you've been talking to Nancy about some of this stuff, but it's all, ideally, I mean, if you're chairing in 2 weeks, then Sarah or Corey'd have to call you and say, hey, here's the deal. These people are really hard up now. Somebody else's lack of planning doesn't make an emergency for us, I get it, but we try to be cordial to the applicants too and try to accommodate them where we can. And if they have an applicant say, they really need to get this thing on the ground, I'd like to do it in one, it's not that complicated, then you or Nancy, whoever's the chair at the time, said, yeah, okay, I can go with that. Call it a potential action, and if the commission needs more information, they can always defer it to the next meeting. So.
Any other comments from commissioners?
I'll say that's helpful. We'll definitely keep that in mind for the next ones. I was reading our ordinance, looking at what at minimum was required,
Yeah,
but yes,
yeah,
helpful
as
to
far as
know
public
standards.
notices, we've been adamant as a commission about noticing people. If you're there and you're a neighbor, you want to know if somebody's doing something, just to know what's going on. And if you want to come talk, please talk, right? We don't always agree with the people that come to speak, but man, they sure should have a chance to address the commission and give their side of the story.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're never going to get reprimanded for being, trying to be transparent in the
No, I
things that
don't
we do.
think so. I think it's a good policy.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Well, is there a motion for adjournment?
I vote for adjournment.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all very much.